the Harmony character that I've been waiting for. Ruan Mei is finally here, although she wasn't exactly what I expected. Even though she's of Ice Element, Ruan Mei is a universal support that can boost the damage of any kind of damage dealer. But is she limited to boosting the team's damage, or there's something more? The key section of this guide will explain to you all of Ruan Mei's playstyle, and how important it is to pick the right light cone that benefits your gameplay the most. If you found the guide helpful, consider liking the video, and subscribe so you don't miss out on up-to-date information. I always read everyone's comments, so feel free to ask questions that were not answered in the video. Without further ado, a member of the Genius Society and an expert in life sciences, she teamed up with Herta and the others to develop the simulated universe. Ruan Mei is a 5-star Ice Element character that specializes in buffing up allies' damage and providing a survivability boost through an unorthodox method. She follows the Harmony path. So far, Harmony characters have been strictly following their main role. Ruan Mei is no exception. Using level 10 traces, Ruan Mei's skill provides all allies 32% damage boost and 50% increase in weakness break efficiency for 3 turns. Combining this with her A6 trace, the damage percent boost would cap at a grand total of 68%, as long as Ruan Mei's final break effect stat reaches the value of 180%. The 50% increase in weakness break efficiency is technically a damage boost as well, because an enemy with a toughness bar only receives 90% of incoming damage. Depleting the enemy toughness bar would make them receive 100% of incoming damage. Her ultimate provides 25% element resistance penetration for 2 turns, and finally, her talent provides all other allies 10% speed increase. Both buff coming from Ruan Mei's skill, and ultimate only reduces its duration on the start of her turn. Similar to certain Harmony characters like Asta and Yukong, Ruan Mei has her own ways to deal damage. This would come from the second effect of her talent and ultimate. When an ally breaks the target's weakness, this enemy would receive break damage equal to 120% of Ruan Mei's ice break damage. Any ally that inflicts weakness breaks while Ruan Mei's ultimate is active will apply a debuff called Thanatoplum Rebloom to the targets. When an enemy under the effects of Thanatoplum Rebloom tries to recover, their broken state gets extended, and they receive break damage equal to 50% of Ruan Mei's ice break damage. How good are these passives? The damage is pretty okay, but I wouldn't say that chasing break effect stats beyond 180% is worth it. For example, this is Ruan Mei's talent damage against a level 70 non-ice weak elite, at 274% break effect with her ultimate's resistance penetration applied. For such a high amount of break effect, the damage isn't that impressive. However, it is important to note that it can be further improved by defense reductions. As for Ruan Mei's unorthodox survivability boost, that would come from the combination of the increased weakness break efficiency of the team and Thanatoplum Rebloom's action delay. In HSR, there are countless elites and bosses that require getting broken to cancel their powerful attacks. Obviously, with a 50% increase in weakness break efficiency, Ruan Mei and her teammates would have an easier time depleting enemies' toughness bars. Remember that you are not just canceling enemy attacks through weakness breaks, you are also inflicting a 25% action delay through one of the default effects of weakness break. And when the enemy finally tries to recover on their turn, their broken state gets extended by Thanatoplum Rebloom. The amount of action delay is 20% of Ruan Mei's break effect stat plus an additional 10%. So for example, if your Ruan Mei had 200% break effect, the total action delay would be 50%. To put that into perspective, that is as good as the delay of Ice Element's break effect. You can also say that at 200% break effect, Ruan Mei is completely replicating the effects of the Ice Element's break effect. Ruan Mei is the first limited character that does not consider her signature light cone as her best light cone. I probably have raised a few eyebrows, but for now, let me continue with the guide. Everything will be explained thoroughly. Using an energy rope, a 2-piece energy regen planar set, and a rank 5 memories of the past, Ruan Mei will have an SP positive 3-turn ultimate rotation. It is extremely important for Ruan Mei to reduce the turns required for her ultimate rotation because the buff duration is tied to her own turn, not her allies. But that's not the only thing that Memories of the Past could do. As mentioned, it uses an SP positive rotation. By being SP positive, Ruan Mei would be allowed to stack as much speed as she can while maintaining good uptime on her ultimate buff and provide the team with skill points. The advantages of this SP-positive playstyle makes her convenient to use in any team setup and for any type of players, especially those who are simply trying to clear content. Unfortunately, the only alternative to a rank 5 Memories of the Past is a rank 5 Meshing Cogs. Using Meshing Cogs would drastically increase the requirements to reach at least 180% break effect stats. Now that's out of the way, let's talk about Ruan Mei's signature light cone, Past Self and Mirror. There are 2 ways to utilize this light cone, an intermediate and advanced method. I will talk about the advanced method later in the video. As the name already implies, the intermediate method is intended for intermediate players. By using an energy rope and Ruan Mei's signature light cone, she will have an SP negative 3-turn ultimate rotation. By using 2 skill points per rotation, the team would be able to enjoy the extra damage boost of the light cone and extra energy it generates per wave. The reason why I wouldn't consider this as Ruan Mei's best playstyle is due to the fact that this build cannot utilize any extra speed at all. The more you increase Ruan Mei's speed, the more she would eat skill points without ever increasing the uptime of her ultimate. Still, it is a very strong and viable playstyle because it's not exactly that SP negative. Thanks to Ruan Mei's technique, Ruan Mei immediately generates an extra 30 energy through the auto skill cast. With the 10 extra energy generated by Ruan Mei's signature LC, she only needs to use 1 basic attack on battle entry to be able to use her ultimate. This means that on the first turn of Ruan Mei, even with this light cone, she already generated 2 skill points, one from the basic attack and another from the light cone's effect. But wouldn't she be purely SP negative afterwards? It depends. If Ruan Mei is not getting hit and you are consuming multiple cycles, then yes, Ruan Mei needs to use 3 skills to generate enough energy for a 3-turn ultimate rotation. But if she gets hit at least once per rotation, she can easily convert 1 skill cast into a basic attack. Since she is only minus 2 SP per rotation thanks to the skill point generated by the light cone, converting 1 skill into basic attack will make her SP neutral. If she doesn't get hit but enters the next wave, that means she gets another 10 extra energy from her light cone, which means she could convert a skill cast into a basic attack, yet turning her SP negative rotation into another SP neutral rotation. This should explain why this playstyle is not as flexible and should only be played by intermediate players or above. Before I start recommending gears, I need to explain a few things about the break effect stat. Break effect, like most stats, also suffers from diminishing returns. After all, it is a linear stat. Break effect damage cannot be increased by attack stat and damage percent boosts. Break effect damage cannot land critical hits. Hypothetically, let's say you have the luxury to focus more on Ruan Mei's offensive stats. Using an ice damage sphere won't increase Ruan Mei's break effect damage. It would only apply to her basic attacks. Using a critical chance body would only increase the chance of Ruan Mei's basic attacks to land a critical hit. Back to Ruan Mei's gears. For the Cavern Relics, you can choose between 4-piece Thief or 4-piece Messenger. It is also viable to mix the 2 sets. Remember that 4-piece Messenger's set effect is generally useless unless you actually know what you are doing. 4-piece Thief is ideal for those using Meshing Cogs. Aim for a defensive main stat like HP or defense for the body, speed main stat for the boots. For those using the SP negative playstyle, it might be best to avoid getting any extra speed substats. After all, Ruan Mei with her base speed, traces and speed boots would already reach the 134 speed breakpoint. For the Planar set, it depends on your playstyle. It is mandatory for the SP positive playstyle to use either Von Whack or Penacony set. The SP negative playstyle can choose between Broken Keel and Ageless. Aim for an energy regeneration rope, defensive stat like HP or defense for the sphere. Even if the damage dealer in the team is Ice Element, the SP-negative playstyle is still better equipped with either Broken Keel or Ageless. You might be wondering why I did not mention the Talia set. While the damage from Ruan Mei's passives are pretty decent, stacking too much break effect is not worth chasing for. Not to mention, a damage-focused Ruan Mei is counterproductive. To deal damage, she wants allies to break enemies for her, yet her ultimate keeps delaying the enemy actions, which prevents enemies from having their toughness bar recovered. Are you gonna pull for Ruan Mei's signature light cone? Are you interested in zero cycling content? If your answer is yes, then this section is for you. Otherwise, feel free to skip to the next section. So how do we make this tech work? Replace Ruan Mei's speed boots with another main stat, and give her a break effect rope. By being too slow, Ruan Mei would only be able to act one time on the first cycle of each wave. By using her technique before entering a battle, she will auto-cast her skill, which gives her 30 extra energy. With the starting energy from battle entry and 10 extra energy from her signature light cone, she only needs to perform a basic attack to get her ultimate. The basic attack and ultimate cast would provide you a total of 2 skill points. If you clear the wave before the next cycle starts, then Ruan Mei won't be able to act for a second time because she doesn't have at least 134 speed. Of course, this is granted that you are not manipulating her speed either. On the next wave's first cycle, Ruan Mei would be able to act once to perform another basic attack, granting the team another skill point. Because she can only act again on the next cycle, her skill and ultimate buff will have 100% uptime on the first cycle. And with that, the strategy is complete. A very powerful tech where Ruan Mei will have 100% uptime on all her own buffs, provide huge amounts of skill points to the team, and is able to reach her peak damage ceiling while providing a strong action delay due to the overstacked break effect stats. There are still a few more min-maxings that can be done with this tech, but that's for another video. Her first Eidolon allows allies to ignore 20% of the target's defense when Ruan Mei's ultimate is active. Without any other sources of defense reduction, this would translate to an 11.7% damage increase. It is worth noting that this Eidolon affects Ruan Mei's break damage. Her second Eidolon increases allies' attack by 40% when hitting broken enemies. Normally, 40% attack increase isn't that enticing, but because of how an E1 Ruan Mei provides huge damage percent boosts, resistance penetration, and defense ignore, the value of attack buffs significantly increases, making this Eidolon extremely powerful, especially when Ruan Mei is supporting 2 carries at the same time. Her fourth Eidolon increases her own break effect by 100% for 3 turns whenever an enemy suffers from weakness break. It is a decent damage increase for her passives, but most importantly, it adds an extra 20% action delay to her ultimate. Her final Eidolon extends the duration of her ultimate by 1 turn, while the talent's break damage multiplier additionally increases by 200%. Obviously, by using 3-turn ultimate rotations, this Eidolon will allow Ruan Mei to have a 100% ultimate buff uptime. Her talent would go from a 132% break damage multiplier to 332%. Assuming that your Ruan Mei reaches 350% break effect and is fighting a level 90 elite that is weak to ice, using only Ruan Mei's resistance penetration and defense reduction, her talent could easily reach more than 100,000 ice break damage. Ruan Mei could fit into almost any team. Not only is her damage boosting capability strong, but it is also very flexible. She could work in a solo or duo carry setup, and she could also work with unorthodox damage dealers that scale with a different stat than attack. On paper, one of her best harmony pairs would be Yukong. Yukong and Ruan Mei do not overlap at all when it comes to their buffs, which eliminates the diminishing returns of stacking additive damage multipliers. When it comes to Nihility characters, Ruan Mei synergizes with them in 2 ways. First, Nihility has the best source of strong vulnerability debuffs and defense reductions. Both types of debuffs are strong with Ruan Mei because Ruan Mei has no source of vulnerability debuff. As for defense reduction, it is still a separate multiplier, and could potentially become stronger with Ruan Mei's first Eidolon. Remember that defense reductions don't stack diminishingly. Instead, it is the opposite. The more defense reductions are applied, the more potent it becomes. Second, some Nihility characters use DOT as their main damage source. This perfectly synergizes with Ruan Mei's ultimate effect that extends the enemy's broken state. As I explained earlier, this effect is almost a complete imitation of the Ice Element's break effect. To summarize, the Ice Element's break effect consumes the enemy's turn, and then advances them forward by 50%. This means that the enemy is technically taking their turns faster. Faster turns means more damage from DOT procs. For unorthodox damage dealers, our best one currently would be Blade followed by Fu Xuan. Maybe even Fire MC and March 7th if you're into that. Ruan Mei has zero problems boosting all of their damage. Ruan Mei can team up well with any of our current sustained titans. Most notable would be Huo Huo since she provides a huge attack boost that Ruan Mei cannot provide unless she is E2. E1 Fu Xuan for critical stat boosts that Ruan Mei cannot provide even with her Eidolons unlocked. E1 Luocha for a small attack boost. And here are some special mentions. Sushang because the increase in weakness break efficiency allows Sushang to completely deplete an elite's toughness bar with her skill ultimate skill combo. Topaz because of her extremely potent vulnerability debuff. Expect Topaz to hit some crazy numbers in a solo carry setup with Ruan Mei. Before I end this section, you might be wondering why Himeko and Shuei are not mentioned. For those confused, Himeko and Shuei greatly benefit from breaking enemies because it triggers their follow-up attacks. With Ruan Mei boosting the team's weakness break efficiency by 50%, enemies get broken a lot faster, but at the same time, Ruan Mei herself delays the enemy from recovering their toughness bars. So it is not exactly a super strong synergy. Overall, Ruan Mei will be one of the strongest supports in the game. Not only will she amplify the team's damage output by a ton, but she would also provide team survivability boost through toughness breaks and action delays. Should you try to pull or build Ruan Mei if you get the chance? Yes, absolutely. Ruan Mei's buffs are not only strong, but her resistance penetration is currently rare. The only other support that could provide them is Silverwolf, Pela, and Luocha. Although Pela needs her 4th Eidolon, and it is ice-specific. Luocha, on the other hand, needs his final Eidolon. If you don't like the complexity of Ruan Mei's signature light cone, I totally recommend opting for her 1st Eidolon instead. Even getting her 2nd Eidolon is massive value. An E2 Ruan Mei in a vacuum could provide a peak times 3.24 damage increase to the whole team. No other supports currently in the game can compete against that, even with their Eidolons unlocked. One could argue that Bronya can compete, but her kit isn't exactly dedicated to supporting the whole team. And that's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you on the next one.